Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. This one it's an update where I'm gonna look at the new cards. I didn't have time to look at them. I know I'm basically a week late, but better late than never, I guess. So let's get right to it. We have the new warlord for the Emperor Children, and he is just the one that you saw in the event more bunch of time. He's quite a classic of them. And itself, it's quite decent. Initiative is medium, so it's not bad. And dealing one damage and stunning an enemy, it's a strong effect. Of course, it's random, but if you control the board, you get to stun the enemy warlord. I don't know how it's gonna play, but we'll see. The legendary, it's the mission. A friendly starter to receive battle damage, just combat damage in 10 times. So, this is interesting because the of course the world leaders would be a little bit better to achieve something like this, but you just need to put a troop in play and fight your opponent. You just need to take damage 10 times. It's not that hard because your troops don't have to survive. And fueled by desire is your warlord gains when a friendly starter receives combat damage, you give it a mark of chaos. So it only works with the starters, which is it limits you a lot. But it can snowball pretty fast because a couple of the mark of chaos give you a little bit of health. So your opponent can't ping your troop that easily, and that may result in your troops turning in a greater demon. So it has a little bit of synergy with what it is, the Law of Rights, which is one of the few cards that is consistent in giving a mark of chaos. Now we're gonna see if there are more. It's not a big gimmick of the Emperor of Children, but it can be pulled off, especially with a card like this. This one is really strong just to have it in the deck. For the new cards, we have Mercutio, basically a 2 for 2. He has flank, so by itself it's not terrible. And with perfection, it gains sneak attack. That it's quite good. It helps keep him alive. It's not the biggest threat. It gives you a little bit more tempo in the early game, which it's usually their playstyle. So a fine card indeed. Then we have Unrestrained Cruelty. You deal 1 damage 3 times. With perfection, you also heal 1 to your units. It's quite interesting. You deal 3 damage for 3 energy, which is good. And dealing with a ping, it's overall better because you can ping out a shield, something like that. I don't know if you get to target something. It doesn't say specifically. Like they add all that space to word the card more precisely, but sometimes they do it, sometimes they forget. I don't know why. So I don't know if like you kill something that dies and triggers. How was it called? I can't remember the name when something dies that does something. How was it called? Let me see. If one, you know, a card is him. Backlash. That's how it's called. It's not a prevalent mechanic in this game. You see it rarely. A couple cards have it and they're good, and that's it. Like the one we just saw with the recent buff is a little bit stronger, but not that much. So in case if something spawn with backlash, I don't know if it's gonna be still it with the damage or just stop doing damage. We'll see how this card has its own interaction. But by itself it seems strong, and the perfection effect, it's just nice to trigger. Healing, it's always a good effect. You never go wrong with that. Now we have a 4/4 energy. Battle Honor give you +1/+1 to your starter, so he also supposedly gonna buff himself. For common, it's really a solid card. You can't go wrong with putting him in the deck if you don't have anything better to put in. If you are on a budget, it's really consistent. Foul Experiments, you enhance a friendliest troops. With Perfection, you enhance all of your troops. So because you say your other troops, I don't think your starter gets twice the buff. And enhance, it can be whatever. It can be just frontline, a +1/+1. Maybe bloodthirst and some attack. Like it can be really good or really bad. So a really random card. I don't know how much you want to play a card like this. Then we have another Noise Marine. It's 6 for a 4/5, so it's understated. But when an enemy attacks, the target is chosen randomly among all other units in play. So that's a really strong because the enemy units can also hit an ally. So this card, it's probably always gonna be dealt with tactics if an opponent can. Otherwise, it can really stun your opponent board. Quite really strong. You might see a nerf on his health, even if it's low already. Then we have the Phoenix Guard, sorry. Frontline and Battle Honor is 3. So 9 energy for 8/10, it's really consistent, pretty big. It doesn't do much when you play it, so it's also a little bit bad with a big card. But you have a frontline that does heals himself if attacks a troop, which is usually what you want for your frontline to stay healthy. It's a decent card, not in too great, but it's not even bad. Now you have the Iron Warriors, the new Warlord, Kroger, the Warsmith. Siege deal 2 damage to random enemies, and if any dies, this troop can act again. And it does have high initiative, which is strange for Iron Warriors, but basically in most Warlord, if you don't have high initiative, you fall too much behind in the game. It's really a key factor to. It's really an important factor to win a game sometimes. So basically, it's a slower effect of the Titan, the round. It's the same. It has a little bit of a benefit if you kill something. You might get the chance to attack with the Warlord or recharge the ability. So it's decent. It plays a control style like they usually do. And it does have a good synergy with Chosen of Olympia because you can play this card with 0. So far, it's the only one that costs 0, but it's in the area war and they're a little bit slow if you play in the Siege game, of course, given the name. So you can play this card and trigger the ability right away. So basically, you only need to load the other 5 times, which it's not hard to do. Like you can get it even with a warlord because now we have I think there are 3 with siege because they changed the forex. Yep. So basically the only 2 that can't do are them. But it's not bad. Because in 0 you just play in first turn, it's not a problem. But playing the siege game, it's really specific and like your opponent, if you especially saw that you have a mission, it's gonna try to kill your troops right away. And unfortunately, you can load the siege ability and play in the troops. We're gonna see in some of the next cards. But of course, they need to survive until your next turn to trigger it. So to get the full value out of a siege unit, it's a slow endeavor. Now for Hammer of Olympia, it's 1 energy of course, and your war guns are relentless. You draw a troop from your deck and its cost is lower by 3. So it's a strong card, generally, of course, it needs to be. It has a little bit of backlash. Sorry, a moment, gonna grab some water. This backlash is if you're of course playing a slow game, you maybe don't wanna draw 2 cards in the end game because you might run out of them. It's unlikely. It's usually a good effect to have a double draw in the end game, so you have a lot of more options that your opponent has. It helps you to survive. It's just a little bit generic. Like I usually don't find the Iron Golem running out of cards easily because their cards tend to be really efficient, but not a bad card in any means. Just may backfire a little bit in comparison to the other cards. Now they got a new 2 drop, it's a vehicle 2 energy for a 2-3, and for 0 energy you trigger the siege to give +1/+1 to all your troops. It's a really strong effect. Of course your opponent is gonna kill this card if they can, but for the Iron Warriors it's not hard to put a bunch of frontline in play. So this could be a little nice buffer for your deck. A really simple and strong card. Now for the meat and bone, sorry, of maybe a lot of deck that they are gonna pop up a 3 energy to 4, so the stats are pretty good to survive. And when you put in play a troop, you with siege you load it. So there's really nothing to say about this card. It's really good. This one is new, yeah. Iron Rod Smash. You stun an enemy for 3 energy and you deal 1 damage to it for each friendly unit. So you're gonna deal at least 1 damage and stun it for 3 energy. It's really nice because you can stun the enemy warlord with this. And if you are already winning, it can help you to deal a pretty consistent blow. So for being a common, it's a decent card. Probably won't shine much, but it does have a place. It's not mediocre at least. Now the Legion Medusa, it's a 4 energy 1/6 vehicle. You can attack, it's that you're not gonna do much with one attack, but it doesn't sit there doing nothing, so that's a plus. Any siege ability for 0, you loaded and triggered. You deal either 7 damage to a structure or a troop with frontline, not another vehicle, so remember that. Or otherwise you're gonna deal 4 to any other unit. 4 is a decent amount of damage. And of course 7, it's just gonna kill pretty much anything. So it's a decent card. Of course it's low. It can survive with 6 health. But it depends. If your opponent wanna kill it, it's gonna kill it. Then you might get a chance that they ignore it, but do not count on it. New cards. The new Terminators, another frontline, 6 energy for 6. And the siege ability, it heals them completely and gain a bloodthirst. So it's a little bit clunky to trigger it because it's really slow. Like you play them, you hope that they take damage or maybe not, and you trigger the siege ability if you can, if you load it before, or if you already gave them bloodthirst, maybe with the discipline tactic. Just they're really slow before you get any value out of them, but overall it's not a bad card, just for its raw stats on the frontline effect. And last we have Siege Mastery. You put in play 2 barricades and your next troop costs 0. So putting playing 2 barricade, it cost around 3 energy, but of course you are really getting the value if you're playing a big card. Now probably what you wanna play is something like some of these cards that you're seeing. This one maybe not, it's just a too bad of a card, it's really slow. In combo with this card, of course, it's way better, but to get value out of this card, you really need to play something that starts costing 7 energy or more, I think. Then down to 6, it's not bad, but of course, the lower you go, the worse it gets. Moving on, the Thousand Sun. They got Warlock that I saw a couple of times in the events. Now, of course, he has Psyche reduced to 1. And for you 2 psychic energy, it gains a +1 attack on the next attack this turn. And of course, you can act again. Now, it's a really simple effect, but because it's triggered, of course, with psychic energy, it gives you a lot of tempo. So you can either strike your opponent really hard or remove a troops for the cost of your health. But it's decent, it's not a bad card. Maybe we'll get a special card in the future, but we'll see. Now their mission, 1 energy, generate 15 psychic energy with your troops, so you're not gonna choose it with your warlord, but it's not impossible by any mean. Then you can get Unleash Mind for 1 energy, your warlord gains Psyker 3, which is a ton, and the last strength you create a psychic power in your hand, so that's just game winning during the end of the game. Or even if you can get, if you get a little bit lucky with a solid board, you might get that the mission triggered even before reaching turn 10 or something like that. And something that can help you is called the tutelary, sorry. For 2 psychic energy, so it gives you a lot of tempo because you can play troops and discard. You give a Psyker 2 and +1/+1 to friendly starters. So this really helps you to build a board of Psyker that are gonna repay you for spending this energy to give them a bunch of buffs. If you're playing the mission, I can see you play this card and no problem. Next is Echoes of the Past. It's just a normal tactic, so it costs energy. You choose a tactic that you play this game and put it in your hand. So as always, as you can see, it's a choose one effect. You're gonna choose it between 3 of them. And it's not bad. You can, if you are planning to do some combo with some tactics, you can get a lot of value out of this card. You can get back the mission, you can back this card, you can back City of Lights. There are a lot of cards basically that this turning an extra copy of them. Legendary Tulak, 3 energy 3/3, so average stats. And Rally, you deal 1 damage, and if the target dies, you gain 2 psychic energy. It's as good as it gets. A really solid card, you are gonna see a bunch of him. It doesn't have Psyker himself, but it is a pretty strong card anyway. Really getting thirsty. Maybe I shouldn't have eaten pizza before doing this. So, new card, the Amsun Tactical Squad. 4 energy for a 3/4, so the stats are a little bit low, not terrible with Friday they stick around. And Psyker 2, that's really strong. And for 2 Psychic Energy, you put in play 1 Psychic Barrier. So quite a defensive card, is help you still stall for time or protect your board. And having Psyker 2, they basically refund you for the Psychic Energy that you are gonna play to put in play the Psychic Barrier, which are a really strong card, so you can see a little bit value out of them. a Horus veteran squad, 6 energy 6/6, so they are pretty solid. Psyche 1, it's always good. With resolution, they create a psychic power in your hand. So the only thing that will make this card better is like something a front line, something like that. Because you play them, you have a solid board in the a solid body on the board, sorry. And resolution, it's always nice because it triggers at the end of the turn, so you get instant value almost from this card. A pretty solid one for a common. Sorcerer Hat, 7 energy for a 6/8, so yeah, decent stats. Psyker 2, it's really good. And for 2 psychic energy, you deal 2 to 3 damage to a random enemy. As you know, that it's the equivalent of a Witchfire, costing a little bit less. So it's a strong effect sometimes because it depends how if you feel lucky, because sometimes you have mostly because you're gonna have to rely on your luck to hit that 5 damage to kill something, which is of course not always gonna happen, but not a terrible card by any means. Then we have the Space Wolf. The Loyalist didn't, as far as I saw, didn't got a new Warlord for now, so we'll see if they are added later or not. As far for the mission, Son of Heresy attack with friendly troops 10 times. It's not that hard to do. The Space Wolf usually wanna do that, and some of them have Bloodthirst or maybe Pack that allows them to attack again, I think. So between that and flank and fast, they are gonna trigger this card really easily. 1 energy, the Howl of the Wolf King. Your warlock gains pack, give +1/+1 to your troops. So with Limaras that can act again, it's basically a buff fiesta. Just a bunch of werewolf for some reason there. So you got a pretty strong card during maybe even during the mid game, towards the late game. I think you can trigger this card before turn 10 if you want. Hemtal Squad, Tactical Squad, 2/2 for 2 energy. Drop pod. After these troops attacks, create a Hemet Squad in your hand. So a little bit similar if you remember one of the card of the Dark Angel. They have a quest for their effect, but infinite value nonetheless. So them they are maybe a little bit more easy because you can attack. You just need to attack with them. So basically, it depends if your opponents are gonna kill them or not. But if you play them right in turn 2, going first, your opponent it's unlikely to kill them. So you're gonna get a little bit of value out of them. And having a card that gives you that, it's really nice because playing aggressively with the Space Wolf, running out of cards is sometimes a problem. Higher Fire Race, you deal 2 damage to anything, so it's pretty nice for 2 energy. And if you target dice, you draw a top from your deck. So really aggressive card, you wanna use it either to finish up something and draw a top so you stay in the game, or to deal damage to your opponent, it's always nice anyway. Next one, we have Punitin Strike, you play 2 Colby Hunters, which are the one with flank, I think. Yep. So it's actually really strong. If you wanna play them, maybe you're playing a little bit slower deck, or you wanna get a lot of value out of an effect like the pack of Limaras. It's a really strong card because it doesn't even cost 5. Usually, because you get 2 troops for 1 card, these cards are a little bit more costly than just the cost of the 2 troops smashed together. But here it's not like that, you just get an even cost, which makes sense, the wolf trying to be fast and aggressive on the board. Next one is another flank with 4 energy, you get a 4-3. In this flank and pack heals 1. So in the small chance it does survive, you can get a little bit of healing on him maybe. But with 3 health, it's gonna be more irrelevant than not having flank, than not having pack, sorry. But a 4 energy card with 4 attack within flank, it's really solid anyway. We get the Blood Owls Veteran. 6 energy for 6/6. They have ward, which is one of the best K ward in the game. It's one of also the worst because it's annoying. You wanna, of course, you wanna interact with card, and this card doesn't help you to do that. So it's overall it's bad game design. There's not escaping it. It's only strong if you're playing it. If you're playing against it, it's really annoying. When friendly troops die, it gains blood until the end of turn. So it's really strong. Having a troop die, it's not that hard. You have a bunch of weak troops to play with flank and so on. So you might play him, he sits around, he's probably gonna survive because there's ward. And then you are gonna get the value of Bloodthirst and hit for 12 damage. Really strong card, in fact, is an epic. Another really annoying card is Grimmer and the Leviathan Dreadnought, an energy 8/8, which is understated but irrelevant because it has frontline and ward. So you can't target this troop with tactics. You just have to rely on your troops' attack to kill them. So it's really annoying to face. It's unlikely to face him because the Space Wolf tends to kill you before this turn 10, 9 comes around. But if for some reason pops up, if they play it just to have a front line in the end, it's really annoying. I face it in the event where it's more likely to pop up, and it's just annoying. That's it for them. The game, okay. Sorry about that. Oof. So, the Ultramarines. You got the Son of Ultramar. The mission is to put on a starting plate 8 times, which is really easy for them, of course. And our reward is Master of Hosts. Your Orlon gains Resolution. Put in play 1 Chancellory Squad, which is this one. It's a pretty strong card, it gives you some value. It's a resolution effect, so you get it at the end of the turn, which is pretty solid to have some board presence. It's a decent one, because if you get this by the end of the game, it's not that special, but it's better than nothing. So you probably want to trigger this card before it gets too late. Otherwise, you get, of course, some value in the late game, but not too much of it. If your opponents start to play big stuff, you're a little bit screwed. Next is Syrian Squad. 2 energy for a 2/2. Courage, you put in play a copy of himself. So that's a lot of tempo for a card like this. You really want to trigger the courage, or otherwise it's a mediocre card. So he has that swing of being either kind of okay from being really good. Honor the Fallen for 2 energy. You choose a friendly starter that died this game and add it to your hand. If you have Courage, it costs 2 less. So pretty simple effect, not much to say about it. Next is Lysimachus Chestus. For energy 3-4, frontline. With rally, you give +1/+1 to adjacent troops. So if you don't get out at least a buff with on on one of your troops, it's a mediocre card. Like if you are not buffing anything, it's a little bit mediocre. The only redeeming quality that it has frontline. If you get the buff on two troops, it's pretty good. So it depends. Savior, Savior Cult. For energy, you draw a starter for your deck and you give in Survivor 1. You give two starters from your deck, sorry. Well, giving them Survivor, it's a really strong effect. Like, drawing for energy, it's slow, but it does pay off a little. So it's an okay card for a common. We have for 6 energy, 5-6, the veteran of Soriona. Sì, Sorionas. When you put in play on a starter, you give in +1/+1. So by itself, you play them, they do nothing, they are a little bit slow. And at that point in the game, giving +1/+1 to your starters, it's good, of course, but it's not great. Like, I don't know if this card are gonna see much play. Next, we have the Sikaran tank. 8 energy for 8-7. Rally, you deal 2 damage. Courage gains flank. It's really what you wanna trigger, honestly. So you can hit something for 8 and delete it. The Dark Angel got a mission, so it's a little bit in conflict with Forbidden Secret. Like, if you play both of them, they just gonna clog your hand at the beginning of the game. But that's depends. If you like it, do it, and if they are good, do it, of course. Now the mission is choose a wing, put in play troops from that wing 6 times. So it's a really easy mission to complete, especially if you have Raven Guard that usually are cheap and you can play a lot of them. For 1 energy, Relentless your Warlock gives +1/+1 to troops in your hand. So it goes with the team of the Dark Angels. It's really consistent because they are in the hand, so you can keep buffing them, buff them. I personally don't like this team of the Dark Angel because playing against them, you can do nothing about them. Yeah, sure, you can maybe jam them or destroy them with attacks if you play them, but there's nothing to do to remove the buffs. So it's really not fun playing against them, in my opinion. I don't like that mechanic because there's no counter to it. But anyway, next card is Forward Deployment for 3 energy. You choose a wing and you create 2 troops from that wing in your hand. So it's really solid to complete the quest, nothing to say. And also you get 2 card, specific card for 3 energy. It's a solid card. Now, Sergeant Bellion, it's 3 energy 2-2, Dread Wing. Rally, you deal damage to an enemy troop equal to these troop attacks. Now, he of course looks a little bit frail, but as we just discussed, their whole gimmick is to buff troops in hand and sometimes in play. So you're gonna got a lot of value out of this card. It's gonna be really strong when you play him, and a swing of tempo also if you're killing something. Like even if you start a little bit weak, I think it's just It might be even better to the legendary. Just saying, because you have two of them, so you can be more consistent. Paladin of Glory for 4 energy, you give +2 until your next turn, survivor 2 to a friendly unit, so it's really strong on a troop, of course, but also giving survivor to your warlord, it's not bad. So, solid card. For energy 3/4, Portorinius Deathwing. The quest is to give +2/+2 to a random troop in your hand. So it's basically a bigger version of this card. I think this card is just better because you can play them and it does have better stats. Of course, this one is a common, so that's why it's a little bit weaker. But it does help you to buff your hand, so at least it is consistent. But I don't think I will play it. Next we have the Seeker and Punisher. It's 6 energy, 6/5, Raven Wing, flank, so pretty strong just for that. And for 2 energy you get to deal 2 damage to all enemies. So this is a really strong card because in the late game you are either killing something of your opponent says a board of small troops. You also killing something because the energy effect, like this card is gonna be playing a lot of deck for sure. Contemptor Dreadnought, 7 energy, 6/8. Rally, you choose a win, you give +1/+1 to top fronted wing in your hand. So he played him, he does something. Of course, if he had something else, will be a little bit better. Because even if it is a big body, nonetheless, for 7 energy, it does nothing in the immediate moment you play him. So it's just a consistent card like the one we saw before with the team of the Dark Angels to buff the end. You play him if you don't have any better. And that's it for all the cards. Now we're gonna see what next to come. I'm quite excited for it. We are getting a lot of updates to this game. So until next time, Jojo out.